This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Welcome to your Sunday update for this 25th day of April 2010. And now for the real news. In our top story this week, ex-counterterrorism chief Richard Clarke has begun a tour of media outlets in the US hyping cyber war hysteria. The spate of media appearances are part of a promotional tour for his new book, Cyber War: The Next Threat to National Security and What to Do About It. In a recent appearance on the Rachel Maddow show, Clarke regurgitated many of his talking points.
We know that countries can get inside the control systems for the things you mentioned, the electric power grid. So they turn off the lights? No, they don't just turn off the lights. They cause a generator to explode. That's hard to replace. It keeps the electric power grid down for a long time. They could cause trains to derail. So the United States government has created these military commands, the 10th Fleet, which has no ships, the 24th Air Force, which has no planes, U.S. Cyber Command, to do this sort of thing. China's created military commands, Russia's created military commands.
In a masterful critique of Clarke's over-sensationalized claims, Ryan Singal of Wired magazine details the numerous factually incorrect statements and claims in the book. Quoting from Singal's article, quote, "Like most cyber war pundits, Clarke puts a shine on his fear-mongering by regurgitating long-ago debunked hacker horror stories. In his world, the slammer worm was partially responsible for the Northeast blackout of 2003. The Energy Department concluded otherwise. A power outage in Brazil is similarly attributed to a hacker when the real-life evidence points to sooty insulators. Clarke describes the Russian denial-of-service attacks against Estonian servers in 2007 as the largest ever seen, not even close. He claims that foreign hackers stole the plans to the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter when they actually nabbed unclassified information on the plane's self-diagnostic system. Observers note that Clarke's intentions are not to warn of Chinese or Russian attackers, so much as to prepare the American public to expect attacks and to give up internet freedoms when those attacks take place. As Lawrence Lessig, Stanford University law professor, told a technology conference in 2008, then counterterrorism czar Clarke once told him that there is an iPatriot Act on the shelf waiting to be rushed through Congress in the event of a cyber 9/11.
The 30-second version of the Zittrain story is there's going to be an I-9/11 event, which doesn't mean an Al-Qaeda event. What it means is an event where the instability or the insecurity of the internet becomes manifest, some major malicious event, which then inspires the government into a response. If you remember, after 9/11, the government dropped the Patriot Act within about 20 days, and it was passed. And the Patriot Act is huge. I remember somebody asking a Justice Department official, how did they write such a large statute so quickly? And of course the answer was, it's been sitting in the drawers of the Justice Department for the last 20 years waiting for the event that would allow them to drop it. And of course the Patriot Act is filled with all sorts of insanity about changing the way civil rights are not protected or protected in the United States. So I had dinner once, and Richard Clarke was at the table, and I said to him, is there an equivalent? Is there a Patriot Act, an iPatriot Act? It's just sitting waiting for some substantial event for them to come in and have an excuse for radically changing the way the internet works. And he said, of course there is. And I swear this is what he said, and quote, Vint Cerf is not going to like it very much. So this is a big terror. Like they're just sitting waiting for the inevitable to happen and then slam.
As the Corbett Report has detailed in the past, the Cyber 9/11 meme has been trotted out regularly since 9/11 itself took place, and is used to prepare the public for a spectacular false flag cyber terror or cyber warfare event that will eventually function exactly as the 9/11 false flag event did. Washington political commentator Webster Tarpley recently described the cyber false flag idea as virtual flag terrorism.
I think you get into an issue which I would call virtual flag terrorism. In other words, false flag terrorism, provocations take place, they're blamed on somebody. In the area of virtual flag terrorism, something happens, you can blame anything on anybody. If we have a crash in the DC metro, what to do? Blame a hacker in Russia or China or Sudan. And who in the world is going to be able to say no?
Interestingly, in the latest round of media appearances, Clarke has also revealed some of the actual intentions of the government with regards to regulating the internet and the capabilities of the government for manipulating an increasingly virtual world from behind the electronic curtain.
In an odd way, isn't this a repeat of the Cold War? We're talking about Russia and China as being engaged in some kind of war against the United States.
It's odd, isn't it? But
And I'm assuming the United States does something similar.
we do with one big distinction. I think the United States probably hacks its way into everything in Russia and China, but we don't take corporate secrets and then turn around and give them to American companies. Now, some people don't believe that. I know there's a big conspiracy theory that the NSA actually is stealing information from Airbus and giving it to Boeing. That really doesn't happen.